Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining today. And we've got a very cool and unique topic to talk about today, and that is creating the new environment in your home post-divorce. And I've got a fantastic guest to chat with about that. But before we get into it, and before I introduce her, just want to remind you to check out the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com if you are not yet a member of the community. Check it out and become one. There are a lot of great resources from free to paid on there, including the divorce quiz that'll help you gauge where you're at in your divorce mentally and emotionally compared to thousands of others who have gone through it. So check it out at thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member and get the help that you need and deserve. Okay, my guest today is a mother of two and an interior designer based out of my hometown of Chicago, Illinois. She's a residential and commercial designer with a special interest in helping divorced clientele make their surroundings in their second chapter feel hopeful and like home. Her goals are to help create an environment that allows her clients to live to their fullest potential, emotionally, physically, and mentally. With either in-person or virtual visits, she will help repurpose current belongings, source new items within a specified budget, and customize an overall aesthetic according to personal taste. This also includes focusing on bringing children into the design process to help ease their adjustment to their new normal. She found her passion for designing early in life and catapulted into helping this demographic after her own divorce. She is driven, efficient, accessible, and last but not least, talented at design. Please help me welcome Molly Anderson. Molly, welcome to the show.
Well, I sound amazing.
You are amazing. And I was so excited when you reached out to me because this is something that we talk about. I've talked about on the podcast here, but also something we talk about more intimately when we do our group meetings or if I do individual coaching with the divorced dads about creating their environment, their new environment, oftentimes, whether they sold the house or they're moving out or whatever it might be, there's going to be a new environment. Even if they keep the house, it's going to be a new environment. Furniture leaves, like all kinds of stuff happens. As you know, you went through a divorce. It's a great upheaval, but we talk about creating that environment in their home that is conducive for the kids and for what they want to envision that environment to be. So when you were like, hey, I do interior design, that like I've just talked about it generally, and you know the way that I've figured it out over the decade, a little over a decade that I've been divorced. But to have somebody that really knows what they're doing, I'm very excited about that. So let's start out with you just telling us a little bit about how you mentioned in your intro a little bit. How did you get into this?
So I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've had lots of businesses, always rooted in sort of the design community. And when I started doing design before my divorce, the thought never would have even occurred to me, this sort of demographic. My clients are, families and builders and you said commercial spaces downtown. And then after sort of going through this on my own, it became clear to me after my son, who was 10 at the time, said, Dad's house needs help. You have to come help. It just feels cold. Like we're it doesn't feel like home. Nothing's unpacked, and not to say that that's happening everywhere, but my ex-husband has, terrible ADHD, and I'm the one who typically would arrange everything because I'm the interior designer, right? So, moving into these two separate places, they just said, you got to come over here and do something. So
Okay.
I did, but it made me think, oh gosh, there must be so many kids feeling like this, right?
Yeah. So wait, you went to your ex and helped design his new
I
place?
did. Well, so I
Oh,
didn't.
okay. Wow.
Yeah, he'll text me. We're very amicable, and I know that's not always the case at all. Largely because there's a lot of just ignoring what happens, but for the kids. So I kind of went over there, and when I dropped them off, realized, oh my God, it was hard for me to see. So I kind of got to work. I sort
Okay.
of helped
Like the
make
kids
their
sleeping
beds.
on the floor or in the garage, or what
Literally,
was that bad?
boxes hadn't been unpacked, I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
and he's just, he's busy. And when you're a single parent, as you know, it's just hard to maintain all that, especially when it's not your first priority. And I think it's lost on a lot of people how important a home environment is.
Yeah.
And so after doing that, and now I'm 44, so a lot of my clientele and my friends who are all word of mouth are sort of in that area of, okay, people are starting to get divorced. We're going to less weddings and more divorce parties. And
Right.
so I started getting more of that clientele, and I thought, oh my gosh, so many of these people are like, please help me. I do not have the time for this. I'd never cared about design before. My wife designed the house or what have you. I had input on it, but it's so overwhelming. Here, help me. And they watching their reaction and the kids' reactions to making that home was transformational. And I thought, okay, this is something, and this brings me a lot of joy. It's so important to watch your kids be a part of the process too, I think. And, your environment has a lot to do with your mental state. And
So what do you
yeah.
find as being maybe the number one challenge that you find in creating that new home environment?
So I think a lot of my divorce clientele sort of don't know where to start. So, I'm not actually really sure what my style is, right? You might not know. It
Mhm.
may have never been even up for grabs for you in your marital home. So I like to help them kind of narrow down their style. Maybe you like minimalist, maybe you like color, maybe you like monotone, but, getting them to visualize what that will look like, because I make visual design boards, helps them see, oh, okay, that brings that to light. And then they can kind of grasp it. But I think a lot of people don't know their style.
Yeah, well, and that's probably particularly true with dads who might not have
Yes,
been the ones putting together the house and doing the design, and maybe being passively involved in that, but not intimately involved in that. So then you get a
absolutely.
mismatch of furniture and artwork and like
Yes.
everything else, and then it's like, what the heck am I going to do?
Yeah. You have the couch that from the basement, and then, an armchair that maybe was upstairs in a set that now you have one of. And, what am I doing
Yeah.
with rugs? Where do we even start? But yeah, all the mismatched stuff. I find too that, you go from having these professional family pictures, in the house, whatever it may
Hmm.
be, holiday pictures that were framed or pictures of your kids. And now you're in this space with these blank walls, and it feels just really empty.
Okay.
So I love to help them kind of transition the way that new reality looks. Like go out and take pictures with your kids yourself and have them, make it your new reality, something that you're looking at every day so it doesn't feel so daunting.
Yeah. So how do you approach that working with a client that's feeling overwhelmed by the transition? Like what are your first steps in working with them? You just started to delve into that.
Yeah. So I typically have a client send me a couple inspiration photos, or I can also send them sort of a questionnaire, and it will say, which of these pictures sort of applies to you the best. Some people might know their style. Like I had a couple, they wanted to nest. So they kept the family home and they both bought a condo downtown Chicago. Now, they, while so daunting, so also kind of invigorating. They were both like, oh, we always used to have to agree on what we wanted, and now we can do whatever we want. So he knew that he wanted kind of minimalist Scandinavian style, and she wanted really cozy, cottage chic. So I was able to have them send inspiration pictures and things like that, but not everyone is always in tune with what that means. So I can either send pictures and say, here, pick between this, and it gives me enough of an idea to go off of. Especially if someone that's in another state, send me pictures of your space. You can send me video and a couple inspiration pictures. Just, I love the way this looks. And I'll get dimensions, and then I'll kind of start creating from there. We work with budget. And then they kind of start to see that, okay, this can happen. My home can look like this, and it's not going to be exhausting. And it, doesn't have to cost $1 billion, but little things go such a long way.
Right. Cool. So why do you feel that it's really important and crucial for, emotionally and physically for, and I want to dovetail this into the kids and having the kids become involved in it, but for, in our case, divorced dads to create this environment for their kids?
I think luckily my kids were very vocal with me about what was affecting them at first. And so I raised them in our home for 15 years, and they had never known any other home. And I had to be the one to move out. He did not want to sell the house. So I left and got an apartment over a cigar shop that smelled like cigars. And they went from, having their own rooms to sharing a room. We had no furniture, nothing on the walls. It was right before when COVID hit. So I got out of there and I didn't even really take anything. So it was a blank canvas. And I could tell when they came in, they didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You become a creature of comfort. You have your things to go to, and you don't realize that everything around you affects you. The lighting affects you. Having some plants in the house, whether they're fake or real, can affect you. The creature comforts of home. And if they're coming over there, it feels like they're going to some weird hotel room and they don't want to be there. And then it affects them deeper than that. And my son, like I said, and my daughter were both really able to express that, even though they were younger. So I took them with me shopping. Okay, well, you're going to share a room. Let's get a bunk bed and let's put your desk in there. And why don't you guys let's go to Target. You pick out the bedding that you like, and in my last house, there would have been more rules on, we're not putting superheroes on our bedding. I'm an interior designer.
Right.
But here, let's just have fun, be a part of it. And now they talk about that apartment like, oh, remember when we lived in that fun apartment? Instead of it being this tragic time of loss, it still felt like home. People need to feel warmth and comfort and organization, and like they're not in a moving state.
Right. Yeah.
It's
So
better for you
that's one.
mental health.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the things that we talk about is that the kids are going through their own process through the
Yes.
divorce too, and they don't have the capacities, the development, the brain development, et cetera, to be able to to process some of that and to deal with some of that. So creating an environment for them is crucial to them, whether it's two different environments, but at least for the dads to create a space that is an environment that is there that they feel safe in, that they feel protected in, that they feel supported in, and doing that's going to just give them that security in going through that process, and then hopefully adjusting post divorce to that. So that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. That's so critical. So like you described, having boxes open and not have silverware and plates to eat off
Yep.
of, and all this stuff that's like transitory, which is okay for a period of time, but if that extends for a great period of time, that's really disconcerting and difficult for the kids to be able to make that transition that they don't know how to do. It's incumbent upon us as dads to be able to help facilitate that process, and part of that is creating that environment that is very, very safe for them, that they can come to. And then you talked about including them in that process. It's while it's so difficult and challenging, and I'm speaking from my own experience and also talking with and helping other guys, it can be very exciting and fun, like you described with your kids. Like, hey, let's do something fun. And I remember with my daughters, and this, I'm going to try not to get choked up, but like I didn't have any money, and I went out and I had to find used furniture, but
Yep.
this was the first time they had all their own rooms. So because before they were sharing rooms, a couple of them, and I got used furniture, like nothing fancy or anything, but my daughter just like flopped in her bed and she goes, "Daddy, I feel like a princess." And
Yeah. Yeah.
it still gets me too, and it's like it wasn't anything expensive, and it wasn't anything crazy, and it wasn't a big room, and it wasn't a canopy, but like it wasn't anything. It was just something that was nice, and we got her colors that she wanted and stuff like that, and that was awesome. It was amazing, and it was that place for the time that we were there was transformative for all of us and healing for all of us.
Absolutely. And the environment, just like the people you surround yourself it's equally as important. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Why would I get an interior designer? Like why would I pay someone to do what I can go out and shop for? Well, first of all, the internet is an abyss of options, and to have someone kind of know what works together and what doesn't, I just, it really, like, anytime any of my kids' friends come over, they're like, "Oh, your house feels so nice." I mean, they could be 8 years old and say that. You would never even think a kid would notice that. And like you said, you can literally go on Facebook Marketplace and buy you can paint it with your child as a fun project. They just want to be involved in it. And then they feel so proud of their space. And then you're also teaching them something about creating a home later in their lives. But it's very hard to go to a place that feels empty, and no one would feel comfortable there, let alone your kids whose brains are now at this point, right, so confused and so sad, and they're living out of, they're bringing their backpack over with all their stuff to your house. And I don't know what that's like. My parents were not divorced, and my daughter will remind me, you don't know what it's like to go back and forth. Nothing feels stable.
Yeah.
And she's 16 now, so it's been 7 years, and so she was a lot younger. And now, she especially wants her closet and her space, but we made both rooms look amazing. So she still feels like she can go and relax. and hide in her room like teenagers do.
Yeah, right. Well, let's talk a minute about why it would be beneficial to have somebody like you help, because people might think, okay, this is going to be incredibly expensive, but let's talk about
Yeah.
ways and why and how you can help, because it doesn't have to be incredibly expensive. Like I said, I bought
No.
some used stuff. I bought some new stuff. We did some creative stuff as well. What are some creative ways to kind of mitigate some of this cost? Because I know that during the process, especially during the process, and if you're splitting during the process and you're trying to find different places, there's already that it's a simple math problem. One house into two equals more expenses, and there's not a lot of money. But what are some creative ways that you help people to be able to do that and create nice spaces?
Sure. Yeah. So that was a huge reason why I wanted to sort of target this audience, because so typically interior designers make their money off of doing custom furniture, things like that. So they can get wholesale pricing, and I'm probably just ruining all my interior design relationships. But sorry guys. A lot of people make money off of the wholesale pricing they get where they're tax exempt. And so they're, custom furniture and all those things. That is not realistic for most of the population. And there's no reason that all of us shouldn't have a beautiful home. I have done 3 divorced dads in the last year and outfitted their entire houses, worked with their children, got the things that they love. What sports do you guys like? What are your hobbies? What colors do you like? Incorporated them into their rooms and literally done them all on Wayfair. So I get a discount through all the major stores. And I pass that along because I refuse to let anyone pay full price for anything. There's no reason to do it. I also know what the good knockoffs are. How do we make this look super classy on a budget? But you can so easily, like we said, Facebook Marketplace, go get something used, Target, Wayfair, Ross stores, Home Goods. I mean, you would not believe what we can do on a budget. And then me passing along my hour or my discount typically covers my hours, but I've made it all look complete for you. I've done the shopping for you. You can give me your credit card so you get air miles. I'll order it all for you. It'll come. I'll set it all up depending on, what your schedule is. We can have someone assemble it if you need to. I will work within whatever you need.
So you can literally take them from concept of, I have no idea. I have no clue about my style or an environment. I don't know what my kids like. I don't know what I'm doing, to getting it all done and assembled and having the place look great and feel great. The kiddos excited about coming over and being in the environment, spending time there, etc.
Yeah, they're going to want to be there. And it's also important to know that everyone lives in their space differently. Everyone needs their space differently. Like I have a friend who got divorced and she wanted to feel really energized. So we got peel and stick wallpaper. We found a really, inexpensive handyman. He came, he put it up. She changed the lights. She put her flavor on it. And they loved that apartment. Some people want it to be really calm. It's whatever the vibe is that you're going for. I know the questions to ask to get you there. We can take an empty house and totally transform it, lighting, artwork, all of that. And really on any budget. Or let's say you have a piece of furniture. Well, let's sell it and use that money if you don't love it or if it doesn't serve you purpose or it gives you bad juju, then let's get rid of it. Or repurpose it. Let's paint it. Let's put new hardware on a dresser and it'll be fun for your kids. So does she want a hot pink dresser? Why not? Who cares? She's 7. We'll find someone in your area who paints furniture on the cheap and we'll we'll give her a pink dresser. She'll be like, this place is so cool.
Right. Okay. So with the time we've got remaining, let's talk about two things. One, I'd like to know what are some of the common mistakes that you see when when dads are starting to go about this process or trying to figure this out, and maybe some of these are funny, maybe some of these are fun, maybe some of these are sad. I don't know, but like what are some of the big common mistakes?
Okay, so let's see. Typically with the dads, I see that, I mean, more often than not, right? The female usually stays in the house. I don't know how often you see that or if they have to sell.
Yeah, it depends these
In
days.
my experience, yeah, just my clients have all been misplaced from their home. So it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
when that's the situation, personally, all of my clients have been like, well, I just want it out of there. I didn't even take anything,
Mm-hmm.
So their kids' rooms are a bed, a mattress, a thin blanket, a living room with of course the TV is always great.
yeah, right.
Big old TV, no rugs, no lighting. That to me is the biggest change that I can bring, is really like grounding all the furniture and making it feel like you don't lived in a staged apartment. So, and making it comfortable. How do you live? Like, let's get you fabric that's easily cleanable if your kids are little and things. But yeah, I think they don't typically think of the kids' rooms first.
Okay, so maybe the biggest mistake is not focusing enough on the kiddos' rooms and making those spaces that are comfortable for them, because that's going to be really where they're spending a lot of their time, the kiddos, and so it's focusing on those, including the kiddos in that process, and doing that maybe should be priority number one.
Priority, and for yourselves. I mean, don't underestimate how much time you spend sleeping, and that your bedroom should feel like a peaceful respite for you. And
good point.
So to go to bed somewhere kind of cold and unkempt because you haven't hung anything, or you have, maybe no nightstands and what have you with a lamp on it, that is going to affect you. I mean, I have had dads that have said, I really don't want to spend money in my room. Don't worry about my room. And I say, please just trust me with this. And we paint, rug, bedding, budget, whatever your budget is. And they go, I can't believe that I almost said no to this. It feels like a completely different place. I feel so at home. Plus, you're likely going to start dating again. You want to have a place that looks like you care about your environment if you're going to,
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. And that goes to the whole philosophy is you can't help other people if you're not taking care of yourself and you're in a good space. So that's a good one too. That's a big mistake too. If they're not taking care of themselves, taking care of their room, creating a space for themselves to be able to nurture, heal, do the work that they need to do in order to move on with their lives, and then also be there and be available for the kiddos and be strong for the kiddos and help them through the process. So those are two big ones.
I mean, who sleeps really well when they go to kind of a shitty hotel? No one.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're at the Four Seasons, we feel great, but
right. Yeah,
I'll make it feel like the Four Seasons.
Oh, you will. Okay. There's your guarantee. There's Molly's guarantee. She'll make your house feel like the Four Seasons. Okay. Perfect.
I hold me to it. I am serious.
Okay. All right.
It is
so let's finish up.
Manageable. Yeah.
Let's finish up with some high impact tips that the dads can implement, like right now, this weekend, this week, to make some kind of change in the environment that's going to really do something?
Okay, so I find that now I get made fun of about it from everyone who knows me. I can literally walk we got an Airbnb for my daughter's 16th birthday because my whole family came and my house cannot fit everyone. So we all chipped in and got an Airbnb, and I was changing light bulbs. Like, no one wants those green light bulbs that those are for embalming bodies. Like, you don't need them in your home. So you need warm light. As you can see behind me, I have so much warm light. But it would shock you how much it changes the space. You need, 2,700K light bulbs. If you can find the old light bulbs, great. More power to you. They're my favorite. Send me a text and tell me where you got them. But that really does make a huge difference. And it's about not having all the overhead lighting above you that can completely change your mood. So lamps with warm lighting. Throw pillows. I know we're not big fans. No one wants to take 11 pillows off the bed. I'm just talking one long pillow, maybe a pillow or two on the couch, couple blankets. Kids love to have blankets, keep them in a basket so they know to put them away and get them out for movie night. Rugs really help too, but I don't necessarily suggest doing that without my advice because that can go very wrong size-wise and placement-wise.
Yeah. Let's stick to the guy stuff. Light bulbs, yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Light
Throw
bulbs.
pillows, that's maybe a little iffy, but blankets,
we're gonna
yes.
even that. All right, let's do lighting and bedding. Bedding's important for everyone.
Okay.
So let everyone have buy a bedding set in a bag. They sell them at Target. It comes with the pillows, the comforter, whatever. Just everyone needs a nice place to end the day.
Yeah.
And plants, honestly, I kill every single thing I come into contact with. So I just find cute fake plants and they liven up the space.
Okay. So let's go to the bedding thing. You gave the light bulbs, warm light bulbs, not the old
bright
white ones. Yeah, I actually I'm guilty of the bright white.
I see it behind your head.
My bathroom.
I'm so offended.
I know. Yeah, I know. So
see it immediately. You don't see. You're gonna feel like a completely different human when you change that.
Yeah.
Dimmers everywhere. Dim the lights.
Dimmers, yes. Okay, dimmers. That's good too,
an easy
right?
Change. Yeah, you can go to Ace Hardware, get a different plate for your wall, dim all the lights, and add some lamps for when it's nighttime and you're just hanging out or family reading time, games, TV, whatever it is. It really makes such a difference.
Okay, that's good. So that's an easy one guys can do. Guys can do the handyman thing with installing the dimmers and stuff like that too. So very, very cool. The bedding thing. So you're suggesting Target, wherever, take the kids, go check it out. It's bedding in a bag, right? It's the comforter and it's the sheets and the fitted sheets and the pillow covers and say, what do you like? Let's start from there. We can design your room from your bedding, right?
And you'll be shocked if you involve them on the process. All of a sudden they're like, oh, I made my bed this morning. And the shock of that value, because I know as a divorced parent, all the guilt is sitting there. So you're kind of not appointing the chores the same way and all of those things. But it's still so important for them to do those things. So I just switched and required them to do that after I saw oh, I love my bedding. I'm going to make it. I'm like, okay, well, why don't we make that a rule then every morning before you go to school? But they take pride in it. And it's important. You don't want to raise a bunch of slobs.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. And then the last one, what would be the last one? The blankets, or do you have something else? Plants. Okay. Plants. All right. Again, it doesn't have to be real plants. Fake plants are equally as beneficial to your space as real plants.
Yeah, I mean, they don't do the same thing, but most people I find cannot take care of real plants. I cannot. I kill everything I touch, but I like I keep bringing up Target only because they have these lines with some really famous interior designers in order to make it affordable for everyone, and they have like very great real looking fake plants. And they come in cute little pots, and you put them in the middle of a coffee table or in the middle of a dining table. And just people like greenery. It just really makes such a difference. And
Yes.
and hanging things on the
so
walls.
Hanging things on the walls. So to the plant thing, I have had great success finding plants in thrift stores.
Great.
People give
Yeah.
away
Oh,
fake plants, and it's crazy because these are $100
awesome.
fake plants that they sell for $20.
Yeah. Artificial plants can range up to, $500 for a
Yeah.
tree. And if you're willing to sort of risk it and try, it can be very good for the air in your house. Costco sells beautiful plants.
Mm-hmm.
You can give it a try. Maybe it'll be
Yeah,
a little
and you can
hobby with the
include your
kids.
kids with it. It could be their chore. That's why our plants always die, because that's their chore and they never get watered and then they die.
Right.
So
Yeah, with the
it's
fish.
yeah, exactly. So, but you could build that into the whole process of caring for something and nurturing, etc. But but just know that you're going to
Yeah,
be buying them over and over again, probably.
absolutely. But I do think that I never included my kids in the design process in my first home. Never. I mean, maybe, well, they were littler. Even though they were littler, I still should have. I mean, I think you could even take a 3-year-old and say, "What's your favorite color?" And go from there. But I think I was so intent on making their perfect rooms, and it was my first time doing that, so I was so excited. And then not taking it so seriously after moving into that apartment, I got so much more joy out of including them in on it and seeing their joy from it. And it really took my mind off a lot of things.
Cool. So, where can people? Okay, two things. First, I think you've
Yeah.
got an offer for everybody listening to.
Yeah. So I think, I will work however best suits the person. I'm a chameleon. So I'm not just going to offer a virtual session. I don't know many divorced dads who want to walk with me on FaceTime through their house, So
Well, there might be some. I mean,
yeah, and if there is, then awesome. I'll also be your best friend. We'll have a great time. So we can either do that, or you can send me, we can start by emailing with each other, or just a phone call, and I'll walk you through my whole process, and you can send me some, just text pictures of your space. I'll tell you how to measure a couple things for me. Maybe you have a floor plan because you got into an apartment and they had a floor plan, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I can. I charge $225 an hour, but again, I am going to pass you my discount. So when we start buying couches and things like that, I get 20% off at all these places. Or maybe you say, I only want 2 hours of your time. This is what I want to spend on all the stuff that goes in the room, and I'll work directly within that budget.
perfect. And so then if they want to connect with you, how do they do that?
So you can email me, and I think you're going to put my email up.
Yep.
And
So I'll put all your information in the show notes, but for those who are listening right now, want to write it now and get a hold of you immediately.
Awesome. Yeah, I have all my assistants on standby by the landlines. So
Okay.
my email is mollyandolive.com. It's Molly, MOLLYAND, olive, design at Gmail. And I have a website. It's mollyandolive.com. Olive is my 7-pound have-a-poo sleeping next to me right now on the floor.
Gotcha.
I liked her more than my kids at the time, so I named my business after her. But
Okay. Yes. Well, you
she's
have
of no
teenagers
help.
too.
Yeah. So, um, you can email me and we'll just come up with the best plan. You don't have to commit to anything. I'm just going to talk to you. We'll just plan a time to hop on the phone. And I really just want to be here to make your life easier, happier, make your kids feel better, more optimistic. I just, it really means a lot to me to do that.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate that with all the guys that are listening, because what you mentioned earlier, we have no idea. I mean, maybe some of us, I was a child of divorce, but lots of us don't know what it's like to go from one environment to another an environment. It's very difficult and challenging in some households, depending upon what the dynamic is like. It's almost literally like living in two different worlds. So it is absolutely
Yeah.
crucial and critical to create this environment for your kiddos that is beneficial to them. So connect with Molly in order to get this process going, even if it's just baby steps at the start, to just figure out some of the three things that she told us with light bulbs and plants and
Sure.
stuff like that. To it's gonna make a huge impact on your kiddos. So don't put it off any longer. Put it as one of those priority things on your list. I know you've got a lot going on if you're listening, but this is one that's really going to be it's really going to pay dividends in the future. And as you guys go through this process all together with your kiddos, and if you're working with somebody with Molly, it's going to take some of that pressure off. It's going to make things a little bit more, a little bit easier, a little bit more fun that you can do as she's got ideas to do with your kiddos. So it can actually be an opportunity. You guys hear me talk about that all the time. Is this being an opportunity? There are opportunities, lots of opportunities within this whole process that's happening, and so utilize the expertise that Molly has and get connected with her, please.
Yeah, I actually I have another point I just thought of, but my kids didn't want to they want to be able to have their friends over too. And when they don't feel like it's their home, they're not doing that. So I don't, whatever the situation, like my kids right now, because of our work schedules, go over there on the weekends. Well, that's when they want to hang out with their friends too. So until I sort of helped make that space feel like, oh, I can have my friends in here and there's a space for us to hang out and a couch and all this, they didn't want to have their friends over, but that's what kids are supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be having those joyous moments where they can just live like normal. But if they feel
Right.
like they're sitting in your hotel room, then they're not going to do that. And I'm going to take the guesswork out of it for you. And all of us know here the decision fatigue that goes into a divorce.
Yeah.
And your brain feels like cobwebs and your heart feels broken. And the thought of the future you had, including your house, looks totally different overnight. So let's help make it feel like you're starting fresh and new and impressing the ladies or the men,
Right. Well, Molly, thank you so much for sharing some pearls of wisdom with us today, and appreciate all that you're doing and the work that you're doing. It's sometimes a labor of love in this context of working within divorce. So I sincerely
Yeah.
appreciate that you've chosen this niche to do this work.
Thank you I thought, gosh, after my son said that, I really got to email someone connecting with a divorced dad group because it might not be the first thing on your list. So, but it is important. And I'm here to help you with that if your ex-wife won't.
Yeah, not all of us are blessed with that
Yeah, I'm gonna be
that
so much
opportunity.
more fun than
So
your
yeah,
ex-wife.
I'd say the majority of us are not. So that's that's
Right.
a pretty special
And
circumstance, I would say.
and I mean, it really is too. I have my clients are my clients for life. So I'm really not trying to like sell myself here, but I just am a very personable person, and I'm not here just for design help. Like, life is hard and we're all in this together. And I really understand this whole transition thing very much. And I'm very compassionate about it. And I just want you to feel good where you are, be happy to come home, be proud to call it your home, and have your kids feel excited to be there.
Absolutely. Perfect. Molly, thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. Fellas,
Thanks, Jim.
connect with Molly Anderson and start this process ASAP. Thanks for listening. Have a great week and God bless. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.